Hey everyone, and welcome to another Star Wars Games Update, where we bring you all of the latest and greatest in Star Wars gaming news. In today's weekly roundup, we're going to be going over several different stories. First, with Republic Commando getting its continued marketing even after release. Some good and bad news regarding Star Wars Squadrons and how some new information uncovered there could spell doom for the game's competitive future. And last but not least, a new rumor regarding the Ubisoft Massive Star Wars game and how it will play, the worlds it could have, and whether or not it will be a Mandalorian game. And before we get into any of that, a quick reminder that if you do like these type of videos, then be sure to give it a like to show your support for this update series and the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Starting things off, this past week, Republic Commando surprisingly saw yet another new trailer for the game be released, marking it the third trailer that the port has now seen. And while to some this may not be a big deal, I get that, but I do think this was definitely worth noting because, interestingly enough, none of the other ports by Aspyr Media like the Jedi Knight games or Racer got this many trailers and basically marketing. So that alone is saying something. Maybe Lucasfilm Games is trying to gauge interest from this to, I don't know, eventually make a modern Republic Commando game but involving the Bad Batch? Who knows, but it is a possibility, especially of how much Lucasfilm is focusing on the Bad Batch and all. But what we do know for sure is that the orders are now officially available for the physical copies of the port, which can now be ordered on limitedrungames.com. For sure, a great grab for anyone looking to add a physical copy of Republic Commando into their collection. Star Wars Squadrons recently saw some good and bad news. First, with the good news, the game took home Best Audio Design at the Canadian Game Show, which, let me just say, heck yeah, they definitely earned it. The game sounds great and the soundtrack was also a pleasant surprise, so a well-deserved award right there. However, sadly, the bad news greatly outweighs the good here. As remember in my last video I said that Motive could still put out possibly one more big balancing patch to fix the remaining issues in the game? Well, yeah, about that. As it turns out, that's not gonna be happening, as the most recent patch the game got last week was actually the last one ever, and Motive simply didn't want to admit it. Now, considering Motive before said that they would keep supporting the game until May 4th, but in reality never planned on actually doing that, it doesn't make them look good. Even worse, Squadron's community manager Jay Ingram also admitted to the team being aware of a huge game-breaking bug/exploit still in Squadrons. But because they stopped touching the game apparently months ago, they won't fix it anymore. So basically, Motive are pulling a DICE here, where if you remember, DICE ended support on Battlefront 2015 and knew of Lando having a game-breaking bug, but chose not to fix it, and we all know how well that went. That said, Battlefront 2015, unlike Squadrons, didn't have a competitive multiplayer scene. So this speed exploit continuing to exist, basically remaining untouched for the rest of the game's future, may very easily doom Squadrons, or more specifically, its competitive multiplayer. Now, whether Motive do get enough backlash on this to force them to go back and do one last fix still remains to be seen. But as we saw with DICE learning from their mistakes and going back to fix the huge bugs on Darth Vader and General Grievous in Battlefront 2, then at the very least we know that may be still a possibility for Motive to do the same here. Okay, now on to some rather interesting stuff concerning the untitled Ubisoft Star Wars game by Massive Entertainment. As a recent post on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit by a user named Josephine Baker 21, who apparently was able to pull a wide range of new information regarding the game from a Lucasfilm Story Group member. That said, the post has since been taken down, so as always, take this all with a grain of salt. Now, I'm gonna be going over this rumor just because it does seem somewhat likely to what we could get considering Massive's history. And looking at past Star Wars gaming rumors, which did turn out to be true, then, who knows. But having said that, I will be using the word allegedly a lot here because none of this is of course confirmed, so do keep that in mind. This could all be very true or all very false, we just don't know right now. Anyway, according to Josephine Baker 21, using their experience gathered from the Division games, Massive wants to create a unique experience that no other Star Wars game has seen yet, which would include a tactical, co-op, and cover-based shooting gameplay with a cinematic spectacle of the Star Wars universe. Taking a lot of elements from the Division games into this, like character creation, armor, weapons collecting, looting, and PvE, the nature of this game's story would apparently focus on a group of characters part of a mercenary type of guild during the Galactic Civil War, which is due to Massive apparently being very inspired by the Children of the Watch underground covert as seen in the Mandalorian TV series. Allegedly, Massive originally planned on basing the game on a Mandalorian covert like that of the show, but ultimately decided on a mercenary group instead as it would allow more freedom in players making their own diverse characters than forcing them to be Mandalorians. Regardless of this, players can still collect and forge their very own unique armor and look in any way they want, with yes, even still wearing Mandalorian armor if they so do wish, a la Cobb Vanth. The game would allegedly also have social safe zones like the Division where players can see and run into other players. And this is where Massive allegedly envisioned these as being cantinas, which they want players to feel like they're walking into Maz Kanata's cantina and always seeing a unique and huge variety of people. The game allegedly will also include several different worlds, similar to how Jedi Fallen Order had a selection of planets to explore like Zepho, Kashyyyk, Dathomir, and so on. However, these worlds would all be unstable and Imperial controlled, where some might have active front lines where the gameplay looks similar to that of the Battle of Mimban, while others may have rebel cells that will randomly attack Imperial checkpoints like on Jedha in Rogue One. Now, regarding specifics of these planets, Massive allegedly want a range of classic Star Wars locations in the game, so as to have a desert-style planet like Tatooine, a city-like planet like Megiddo, and really any worlds that feel lived in where you can go in and be able to help the local populace. As for the story, Massive allegedly don't want any universe-changing moments in the game, like for example Luke destroying the Death Star, but rather instead focus on everyday heroics of military personnel within the universe. With the first season of Rebels being an inspiration for this, where the Spectre group would simply steal food and resources from the Empire to help people and that would be enough of a victory. One very important thing to take note of from this rumor is that Massive allegedly were tinkering with the idea of player classes, especially with one that included a Jedi class, but the Lucasfilm story group apparently steered them away from this, and were mainly keen on the soldier mercenary style of things, as they didn't want to add any more Jedi Force users into the universe as this would of course be a canon game. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, this is only a rumor, so it should always be taken with a grain of salt. Although, on the flip side, there's honestly a lot here that I wouldn't be surprised if it did turn out to be true. But what do you all think about this? Do you like the idea of a Star Wars PvE game that is more military focused instead of allowing you to be a Force wielder because of canon restrictions? And if so, are you fine with just being a regular random mercenary than rather a legit Mandalorian? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and granted, there's still a lot of time before this game will even release, so there's still plenty of chance for things to change over the course of development, sometimes for the better or worse. But seeing all the hype now riding on this to succeed, then we gotta hope Lucasfilm Games and Ubisoft, unlike EA, do it right from the get-go. And that will do it for this Star Wars Games update. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but to keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.